welcome to another episode of Charge the Line podcast. This is our Hot Zone episode for this month. I know for you guys that don't know, my name is Roger Narvaez and my co-host Tony Perez. We both worked in the fire service for several years. We both led at different capacities, and something that we wanted to talk about today is adversity. I feel this podcast will probably help anybody that is just going through life, because I think that's one thing that's guaranteed in life. And maybe that's a misconception that people have, is that we deserve to be happy, right? We deserve to live a happy life. And in reality, like, nothing's guaranteed. You have to make the best of the cards you're given. And some people obviously have a better, hand than others. But in reality, no matter who you are, adversity is going to hit you at some point, right? And it's how you deal with that. Before we start talking about that, though, I did want to talk about something that came up. It's been about a month and a half now, that the Secretary of Defense, now coined the Secretary of War, gave an address to all the generals, right? All the leadership of the United States military met at Quantico, and he basically laid out his expectations, which you wouldn't think he would have to do something like that, right? You would think that people at the ranks, at the levels that these generals are at, would kind of understand what the expectations are of being a good soldier.
Unless he wanted change and he wanted something different, and
Exactly.
It wasn't to his standards. So
yeah, exactly.
You're gonna lay that out,
and that's what I think is great. I know he got a lot of criticism because people were saying, like, oh, all the money that it costs to get all these generals together. Well, obviously he felt that past administrations have not done their due diligence, and our military, which is generally thought of as the strongest military in the world, has kind of started to decline a little bit, right? And I wanted to talk about this because, us being first responders, I wanted to get your take on it, because I know that we, and it's like you said prior to us talking, it's always the last generation is always better than the next generation.
Well,
right?
Well, that's the saying, right?
Well,
like,
right.
They don't make them like they used to.
Yeah.
Like, we had it harder, They don't.
But I mean, there is some truth to that, right? Like, as far as the difficulty of things.
Sure.
I mean, just being a man myself, knowing how my family is financially, seeing what my father went through, the struggle that he had, having to work 2 full-time jobs just to make ends meet, having my mom having to work full-time, going through a lot of financial struggles and turmoil throughout our lives. And, that is something that, by him working his butt off, it got me into a position where now I'm working my butt off so that my family, my kids, have it easier, right?
Right.
But with that ease, sometimes...
And it could have even worked, it could have made it to where you had it easy, And
yeah.
So it just depends. It's like, the expression, the hard times make hard individuals.
Yeah.
Hard individuals make easier times, and then easy times make weak men. Weak individuals.
Yeah.
So it kind of is a double-edged sword.
It is. And I think for him to do what he did, there's a sense of urgency there, right? Yeah. There's obviously some notice that has been brought to his attention. And I wanted to play a little clip because some of the, he took a lot of heat for some of the stuff that he said. But I'm going to play this clip.
Well, you have to think about that, what you just said. Anytime you're going to, implement change, be prepared to take a lot of heat.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're going to, it's like that expression, like, this is how we've always done it, or, especially in, institutionalized organizations. It's like, it's very difficult to turn the ship, and so it happens slowly. But sometimes it takes a new leader to come in and just, shake it up.
Yeah. And that takes courage. I mean, for sure,
yeah.
That takes courage to be able to step up and say, no, this is not up to the standard I feel we should be leading. and setting the example with, and we're going to change some things. So I'm going to play this little clip. It's a couple minutes long, but I'm probably going to stop and interject here and there on some talking points. But this is his address to U.S. military officers that were in, it was actually Virginia where they met up. So
it all starts with physical fitness and appearance. If the Secretary of War can do regular, hard PT, so can every member of our joint force. Frankly, it's tiring to look out at combat formations, or really any formation, and see fat troops. Likewise, it's completely unacceptable to see fat generals and admirals in the halls of the Pentagon and leading commands around the country and the world. It's a bad look. It is bad, and it's not who we are. So whether you're an airborne ranger or a chairborne ranger, a brand new private or a 4-star general, you need to meet the height and weight standards and pass your PT test.
Man, how many of those generals sitting there probably haven't done a PT test, probably haven't passed a PT test in the longest time?
You know,
right?
You know, that's one way to look at it, and I look at it as like, man, who are the ones that have been consistent?
And on it.
And on it. They're like, yes, thank you.
Well, see, and that's the thing. It's like you get that those guys that have been doing what they're supposed to have been doing, maybe a little demoralized by the acceptance of lesser than minimum standards being met, and this is encouraging to them, right?
Yeah.
This is encouraging to them, but it's the other ones that are usually the loudest, right?
But is this even like far fetched? Like what's the one of the number one leadership, tenets is like, don't ask anybody to do something that you wouldn't do. Right. Like this is not not earth shattering. It's like
lead by example.
Lead by example, right? So it's like this is pretty basic leadership 101. Like you got to meet the standard too.
Well, and how many times, I mean, we're in the fire service, but just in general, anytime somebody kind of climbs the ranks and gets to a position, I mean, unless they have that desire or that love or that passion for the job, I always say the number one killer in the fire department or as a first responder period is complacency.
Oh, sure.
Right? Because that's the hardest battle. Anytime I talk to the new guys, anytime I talk to cadets, I said, you're on fire right now, but fighting that complacency once you get turned out,
keep that fire lit.
Yeah. That's the difficult part, right?
And as the chairman said, yes, there is no PT test. But today, at my direction, every member of the joint force at every rank is required to take a PT test twice a year, as well as meet height and weight requirements twice a year. Every year of service.
Man. So that's pretty much what we talked about, right? Yeah. Putting his expectations out there, raising the bar. And I wouldn't even say if he's raising the bar, more or less just saying you're going to meet the standards that we put forth, no matter what your position is, right?
No one's exempt.
Yeah. And I think that's encouraging when you can look across the leadership and see that you've got, I mean, for me as a subordinate, right, or as a follower, if I'm there and I see the guy in front of me leading the way, hard charging, like in shape, doing what he's supposed to be doing, like, I mean, there's going to be those guys that, whatever, they just kind of brush it off. But then there's going to be those guys that look to that and say, I don't want to be the weak link.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that was always my thing is like, I mean, in the academy, when I came up, I was that guy, right? Like we would go on runs and I could lift, but I couldn't run. My cardio was crap. And I realized like, I'm one of the guys that these guys are having to come back and banana peel for and come in and get me and
waiting on you,
running longer. And I don't want to be that guy.
No.
And, I flipped that switch, 20 years ago and I've never looked back.
That's good.
And,
it's good that you recognized it, because some people make excuses and say, "Well, I'm bigger. I'm heavy. Like I can't run. I'm not a runner."
Yeah,
it's like, that's the standard.
Yeah, it is, and that's something that's important to recognize, because, whenever you look at that accountability mirror and you, it's a hard pill to swallow sometimes. Mm-hmm. It's a really hard pill to swallow, but once you realize like, okay, I'm just going to take steps and start chipping away And then once you start to see the progression in whatever it is you're weak at, it doesn't have to always be a physical thing. It could be a knowledge-based thing. It could be a skill-driven thing. If you start seeing those improvements made and those successes, it's really encouraging. And if anything, it's going to make you more confident in doing what you do, you know. He went on. I mean, that was just a brief clip, and I don't want to play too much because I know I'm playing it from my phone.
One of the things that resonated with me, do you remember the part where he talked about no more like computer-based training? We're going to like be hands-on. And that resonates with the fire department too, because you have like, you know, we have CE hours that we have to keep up with, but you have the option to do like, do we do it in front of a computer, or, you know, when you can get your hands on stuff, like it's so much more beneficial. Well,
and the reality of it is, as a leader, like at least in our department, you know, the captains have the ability to come up with these external trainings, and a lot of times we train. I mean, I don't think there's one crew out there that doesn't train at least 20 hours a year, right?
Yeah.
And so, but then it's just, it falls onto the leader to actually come up with the lesson plan, to actually
do the work,
scan the stuff. And it's just, I mean, you're sitting down. It's not like manual labor, right? So that's something I pride myself in, is like my guys, like they're going to do the required curriculum that's put out by the department.
Right.
But we're going to do extra. We're going to do more. In addition. Yeah. And that's the real stuff I think that gets people excited. When you can go out and you can spend 2 or 3 hours training and you're actually getting credit for that training, then guys you're gonna get that buy-in.
Yeah.
Then
especially if it's good training that's beneficial, you know, you can see the use for it. You know, for a long time it would be like we would do too much of the simulation or too much of the things that wouldn't really happen, too much of like, oh yeah, this is just because you're checking the box. And if you can kind of tie it to the job, to where it's like, I'm going to show you something that's going to make you do your job better or easier.
Right.
Oh, you'll get buy-in all day long.
Well, and you know, we talk about what has happened, right? Like why are things the way they are? And I think we can blame a number of things. He obviously stepped forward and I talked to some guys in the military, and they're all, you know, great military members. You can tell by their fitness. That's the number one thing I tell people. Like if I see somebody that's fit, I know they're disciplined. I know that they're driven.
Yeah.
I know that they take their job seriously, right? And that goes for anybody: a cop, a firefighter, a paramedic, military personnel, border patrol. Like, if you see somebody that shows up to work and they're just looking like they just, you know, downed a triple meat Whataburger and washed it down with a 44-ounce Coke, it's like, well, you know, we'll work with you, but you know, it's going to be difficult to pull you out. But, you know, my thing is, I think, and I wanted to start with that because I think as humans, it's natural for us to want to avoid adversity, right? And it's something that I've really been getting kind of revealed to me by God lately is on my walk is, you know, adversity. When you read into it, man, you see these guys that went through adversity in the Bible, and they stories, and they welcomed it, right? And they were joyous about it. I mean, they because they realized what they were doing it for. And so I want this message to be a message of encouragement to people out there that maybe haven't started down that road, or maybe you're in a storm right now, and just realize that adversity isn't bad, right? Adversity, sometimes it's painful, sometimes it's stressful, sometimes it feels like it's never going to end, or that your world's just going to come crumbling down. But in the end, it's what the adversity produces that really makes it worthwhile, right? And so I had 3 things that I want to talk about. And the first one of those things is that I feel adversity, the number one thing that it does for me is it builds resilience, right? That's the number one thing it does. Sometimes that resilience is physical, sometimes it's mental, right? We talk about it on the fire ground all the time when we put these cadets through there. I mean, they get put through the ringer when we were doing our fire stuff, right? Because we want them to feel that adversity. We want them. We throw obstacles at them. We throw little kinks in their evolutions, so that they are meeting that adversity head on and having to work through it. And the thing about when you can do that physically and mentally, it's just going to make you stronger in both. Yeah. Right. I always say, like, when you push your body to the extreme, when you push the limits, when you go that one more step, when you run that one more mile, when you climb that one more set of stairs, when you're done, it didn't kill you, and you can look back and say, I did it. Yeah. Like, I know I can do it now. Yeah. Right. And then there's no excuse not to do it. Yeah. Right. And that's the confidence that it gives you. You may not be feeling it. Yeah. You may not be, clicking on all cylinders. Yeah. But if you've done it before, you can do it again. Right. And so, it's just with our physical training, we talk about it all the time. You can't go to the gym and not put your body under stress and not tear down those muscle fibers and not feel that burn, right? No pain, no gain is the old mantra that they used back in the 70s. Sure. And it's true. And it's true on a scientific level. You literally have to break down, tear your muscles down, and you're not going to be able to grow if you're not tearing your muscles down. Now, you see those guys that go in the gym and they do the same workouts, every day for 40 years, and they're going to the gym every day, but they're consistently gaining weight. They're consistently getting more out of shape because they're not stressing their body in a different way. Right. And, when you are facing that adversity and whatever it is you're going through, and you can push through that barrier, that resilience is naturally just going to be built.
I think that kind of what you're describing, and then kind of like what our natural thing is, people want to be comfortable. And so whether it's in your professional life or at home, you just, whatever's comfortable. And that's the scenario that you're talking about when you have a person that's gone to the gym, for 20 years, but they never really had gains other than when they first started, is because they got into a routine that was comfortable, and then they weren't willing to get out of that comfort zone. Right. Weren't willing to, push themselves. And so when you talk about adversity, it has a lot to do with perspective. If you don't have the right mindset, your mind is powerful. I mean, it's so powerful in that, it can help you get through these hard times, but it can also just, crush you, Yeah. And so many people now, I always hear it like, oh, I'm an overthinker. It's like, I think everybody, thinks, overthinks, it's just, where are those thoughts going? And you talked a little bit about faith. It's like when you trust in God, it's like you just have to, that's what faith is. You're going to give it to him, and, you're going to trust that it's going to be okay. And it's hard for some people to do because we want to be in control. We want to be in control of everything in our life. We want to be able to control, how we feel, how our family members feel. We want to take care of our family. And so when you start to think about losing some of that control, it could be scary.
Yeah. And that's what I mean by when we talk about like society these days and people kind of getting weaker. I was listening to a podcast and they were talking, and one of the dads was saying to his daughter, she said, don't tell me that, it triggers me. And it's like, man, like, we talk about being overstimulated. We talk about anxiety. I mean, everybody has anxiety now. It's literally, anytime you're uncomfortable and you can't like get a hold of those feelings, people coin that as anxiety, right? Yeah. And
what else do you call it? I mean, that's just what it is. It's out of your control.
But that's where what you'll find is a lot of times it's people that haven't faced any type of adversity, right? It's people that haven't struggled at all, that have kind of just gone through life taking the easy way, not really pushing their limits, pushing their standards.
Is that, it's for our children that we want to make it easier for them. We want to, provide for them. We want them to not struggle so much,
Well, we talk about leaders, right? But we talk about leading other people, but are you leading your home? Yeah. Are you leading your kids? Are you leading your wife? Are you leading the most important core fundamental foundation that surrounds you, which is your family? Or are you one of those guys, right? We hear about it in sports all the time, that dad that's like 200 pounds overweight, and he's sitting there, you know, yelling at his son that's got a six pack, but maybe didn't, you know, missed a block, or, you know, didn't run the right way or something. And it's like, bro, are you hitting it with him in the gym? Are you, you know, doing what you can do to set the example for that guy? And it goes into, once again, you know, being a captain in the fire department, exactly what you said. I tell my guys all the time, I will never ask you to do something that I haven't done or I am not willing to do. And in fact, you know, I've been with my crew for like 6 months, and we've had a couple of code brown calls, right? For you guys that don't know, just think about it. It's dirty. And, you know, there's been two separate times where I've literally told the guys, like, and this is just me going above and beyond, not saying everybody has to do this, but it's like, you know, the compassion I have for the people, it's I'm not going to leave them in that situation. Right. So for me, it's like, I want my crew to understand we're not here just to mitigate this medical call or pick this person up and put them in bed while they're still covered in their own feces, or it's left all over the floor. Like, and it sounds nasty, but I mean, we got gloves, you know, hold your breath and clean it up for them, because you're doing more good than just showing up, helping them with their issue. You're being compassionate, you're being empathetic, you know, and you're serving them, right? So yeah, I mean, it definitely is, you know, you touched on it. And the second thing that adversity does, so number one, you know, it builds resilience. But the second thing that I had written down was it reveals true character, right? Adversity reveals true character. And sometimes that's not always what we go back to saying the word comfort, right? We're not comfortable looking at the fact that we're inadequate in certain areas. And a lot of times we can neglect those areas, but if we deal with adversity and we're able to hit those head on, you know, what it does is it strips away that comfort, right? Automatically. I mean, it takes it. And for the fire service, you know, there's a saying that the fire ground doesn't build character, it reveals it, right? And that's what we're facing, is we're facing adversity on the fire ground. When you've got people coming up to you, you got a building on fire, you've got people yelling at you left and right, you've got to be multitasking, you've got to be telling the other crews what's going on, or grabbing your tools and kind of calm yourself down to get the job done while all hell's broken loose, you know. And
you've seen the people that just start yelling and screaming and going crazy themselves, and it's like they're not helping anything.
No, nothing at all, you know. But it really does show you who you are under pressure. And that's something that I feel like it's imperative that, you know, the military, they're talking about doing it, like, on as far as firefighters, as far as police officers, like, we need to make sure that those incumbent firemen or cops are put under that pressure from the start, so that when they do get turned out, when they do face that stress, they're able to work their way through it instead of just crumble under that pressure. Because that's exactly what it's going to do. It's going to reveal, you know, it's going to strip away that comfort. It's going to show you who you really are under pressure. And then once it does, it's up to you to kind of make the changes necessary, or, in my opinion, like, pick another job. Right. I feel that that's something we've gotten to. It's almost like we're so worried about keeping people that I think, especially in the job we do, where lives depend on our actions, our abilities, both mentally and physically. Like, I don't think we have room to allow people to step in and pursue this career when they've shown that they can't handle it. They're not suited. You know,
it's not for everybody.
And you don't have too many. I've had a couple people come to me, you know, I only spent a year in the training academy, but I had a couple people come to me and just, you know, say, like, I appreciate everything you guys showed us. I appreciate everything you taught me, but I realized like I just can't do this. And whether it's a mental,
I respect that where they recognize it themselves, because another way that they could have just, well, it's a good job, I'm just going to stick with it, and then go years, and really they're torturing themselves and their crew and everybody else if it's not a good fit for them. You know.
well, and that's the thing is like those people do, filter through, right? And those people do sneak through, and it's that imposter syndrome, where people come in and they're wearing the uniform, they're showing up, and they're doing, 90% of the time, you don't have to really face too much adversity or stress, right? It's not like every single call we make, there's a fire with a lady and her kid hanging out that 2-story window, or, a rescue call where you've got to get in there and think on your feet and have hands on while somebody's literally dying in front of you. Like, those calls happen, but it's not the majority of what we do. And so I think it's easier for people these days to kind of coast through. And I think it's imperative that we, and I say we as like an organization, make sure that, the people that want to do the job, we're going to help them through it. I've had guys that struggle. I mean, it's not.
Oh, everyone's going to struggle on something.
Yeah,
you can't be good at everything.
I mean, I remember the first time I put on a mask. I'd never put on a mask. I didn't like tight spaces. Yeah. I remember I was in the training academy, and one of the first things we had to do was put on our mask on air. First time ever being on air, and all we had to do was crawl under an engine, and I got stuck like under the bumper, and I remember freaking out, like thinking to myself,
"How am I going to do this?"
Yes, and that was exactly my thought. Yeah. And in that moment, I realized I had that come to Jesus moment, because I realized I remember telling myself this: if you can't do this, you're not gonna make it. Yeah, calm down. Yeah, and I was able to. Right now, that's not always the case. Sometimes people freak out, rip their mask off, want to get out of the burn building, whatever the case. But it's up to us to kind of help them and get them through those things. But at the same time, when somebody gets to a point where it's like, hey, we've done everything we can and this is still happening, I think we have to have the courage as an organization to say, okay, you gave it your best shot, good luck to you. And I think the military has kind of gotten to this, he goes on and we try not to get too political on this podcast, but he does go on to talk about some DEI stuff, and I think the big issue with that, and I've told people all the time, like, I don't care what your sexual preference is, I don't care what color you are. When I'm in there and I need help, I just need you to help me, right? Yeah. If I go down, I just need you to be able to take me out. Right. Mm-hmm. Bring me back to my family. And I don't think there's any civilian out there that when they're really like feeling like they're going to die is going to say, no, I don't want you, to help me because you're, Hispanic or you're black or you're a female. They don't care. As long as you fix their problem, they're going to be okay with it. Yeah. And I think, his thing is it's gotten to a point where it seems like in the military, it's like the standards have dropped to where they're more focused on hiring certain groups of people than just hiring the most qualified people. Yeah. And, that can turn into a whole race thing when you start talking about, the details of it, and it can turn into a sexist argument or whatever the case. But like I said, man, military, first responders, police officers, we all, when we show up, and there's a job to do, it does not discriminate. No. It doesn't ask how old are you? How long have you been on the job? What, how much can you lift? Can you run? Are you not in shape? Like, it just is like, here it is, fix it. Mm-hmm. Right. And so, I respected that speech. And to anybody that hasn't listened, I mean, you can pretty much get the highlights if you go to YouTube and look it up. But I encourage anybody in a leadership position to listen to this speech and then look at yourself in that accountability mirror, right? Because I think it's really easy for us to think that we're good enough, right? It's hard for us to look at our deficiencies and say, where can I be better? What can I do better? You know, it's even harder to say, I'm not good here and I need to fix this. And it's not going to be easy, but I need to do it for the betterment of the team. And that's what it's all about. You know, we talk about revealing character, but something that it also reveals is it exposes your loyalty and truth in those relationships and those teams that you've built, right? Are you going to be that guy when your team needs you the most that's just going to walk away or run out, right? I mean, it's happened before, right? Guys get in a fire, it gets a little warm, gets a little hot, too hot for them, and they just bail, right?
Leave everybody behind.
Leave everybody behind because we go into that fight or flight. And that's why it is so important. He goes on to talk about the training that they're going to do, where the drill sergeants will be able to put hands on people.
Yeah.
Where within reason, he says.
Yeah.
But they will be able to push people. They will be able to get in their face and yell and not worry about getting reprimanded for being insensitive, you know. And when you have jobs like we do, and that's why I like this speech so much, because I think it's related so closely. We can't have the, how do you say, like, we can't worry about people's feelings, right? We've gotten so much as a society, we've gotten so focused on feelings and so many different areas of life, from, you know, your marriage. It's like, how our divorce rates are through the roof. Why? Oh, well, he didn't make me happy anymore. Well, that it doesn't matter. Like, that's not what marriage is supposed to be. You're gonna have
be happy all the time.
You're not gonna be happy all the time, right? But how often does that happen where we get uncomfortable, we don't want to work towards something, we don't like the way people make us feel, and we just immediately give up, right? And it happens in so many different aspects of life, but you know, we can't afford to have so much concern for people's feelings. We can't put feelings over skill. We can't put feelings over abilities. We can't put feelings over, are you able to do this or not? Or are you flustered because I dropped an F-bomb on you, telling you to hurry your ass up, right? Like, when you have people that are that mentally incapable and mentally triggered, right? Then you got to really do some thinking about whether or not they're going to be able, because the way I see it is like, man, we're in a safe environment. Like, when I was in the training division, it was like, we're in a safe environment here. Like, I'm going to yell at you, but I'm not going to put hands on you. I'm not going to, you know, get in your face and hurt you or do anything stupid. Like, I still want my job.
Yeah.
But when you get out there and you have that patient
not a safe
at
environment.
2 or 3 in the morning that's in the bad side of town and is, you know, cussing you up and down and starts bucking up to you, like, are you going to lose your temper, or are you going to wither? Are you just going to walk away? Are you going to run away? Are you going to leave your partner there? Like, you know, we have to acknowledge that those things are out there and that they will happen.
Yeah.
Right. And then the third one that I wanted to go over. So far we have, number 1, it builds resilience, right? Number 2, it reveals true character. And then number 3, and this is something that I think is so important for everybody to focus on that's going through a hard time, is it fuels growth and changes your perspective, right? It fuels growth and it fuels perspective.
Well, it should.
It should.
It should.
It
If you choose to go through adversity and just not get anything out of it, then, you know, that's a failure on your part, because if something's happening to you, you have to sit there and think about, what am I gonna get from this? What am I gonna learn from this? How can I be better from this?
Yeah. I mean, that has to be the thought, right? Because if not, you can find yourself in a dark place.
Yeah.
Right. You can find that pity party.
Why is this happening to me?
Why
I don't
me?
deserve this, you know.
Man.
Oftentimes, whatever we're going through, we probably deserve it. It's
Yeah.
for a reason.
Yeah.
you're being shown something. Something is being revealed to you, so that you can be better.
Well, I think that's the biggest thing is sometimes, a lot of the times, we go through things that are self-inflicted. It started way back here, and we were making these bad choices, these bad decisions. We got away with them one after the other. It's kind of like that normalization of deviance type thing,
Yeah.
right? And you get away with it, boom, then you don't. And now it's like, why me, right?
Yeah.
Why me? Why is she leaving me? Well, you've been cheating on her for the past like 10 years. Like that blows my mind. Like I've heard of guys that literally are like, oh, my wife cheated on me. And it's like, bro, you cheated on her for like 5 or 6 years. Like, why are you worried? Like, what did you expect?
Surprised,
Did you not see the warning signs or the neglect that maybe you were showing her that opened up that door? You know, it's once again, adversity is not fun, but it's going to grow you if you allow it to, right? If you embrace the struggle and if you take that positive mindset and you look at it from a standpoint of, what can I learn from this? And we see it all the time. I mean, how many times have you been there on the training ground and you see somebody face an obstacle? Maybe they're embarrassed because of their performance, and they have two options, right? It's either get better or stay the same.
Yeah.
That's really what the options are. And I've seen those people that, you know, they mess up and it's like they're kicking themselves and they're beating themselves up, but then they do something about it.
Yeah.
Right? They do something about it. They don't just blame their situation on everybody else.
Right.
You know, because you have those guys.
Yeah.
Where they mess up, and every time they mess up,
It's the department's
it's
fault.
somebody
or it's someone
else's fault.
Yeah.
You know, and the sad thing is when I see people go through that in life, right? Like family, friends, whoever it might be, you know, they are repetitively making the same mistakes over and over and over, and then they come to you and they're like, why me? Why am I in this situation? And I'm like, man, I could have told you were going to be in this situation because you have done nothing to change your behavior. You continue down the same path and you're not trying to fix anything.
Yeah.
And so
and sometimes, you know, like you might recognize like, this has got to change in my life. Like I need to change this. And I heard it was Ray Lewis said it the other day to somebody, and it was just a quick clip that I saw. And it's like, yeah, there's something in your life that you want to change. You need to change it before God changes it for you.
Yeah.
And it's not going to be the way you want it.
And it's not, you know. And that's the thing. I think oftentimes we want the success, right? We want the glory. We want the prize without putting in the work. And that's in everything. That's in everything. That's in your relationships. That's in your career path. That's in your professional, you know, development. Like, we oftentimes want the awards and the accolades without earning them, without putting in the work, right? Something that adversity does is, you know, it definitely encourages you and it makes those successes worthwhile. When you can look back, I mean, one of the biggest, and I've been pretty open about my life here on this podcast. You know, one of the biggest things I faced at an early age was my mom's death. And for years, I never understood, like, I fell into that, right? Why me? Why me? I'm 17 and, you know, she was my world and she was my everything, and now I'm lost. And I used that to kind of spiral out of control and just do whatever I wanted to do instead of focusing. But it was later on where I started going through some other things in my life where I realized, like, man, I went through that and I overcame it and I got to where I am.
There's nothing that can.
There's nothing. And so I think it's having that perspective at the forefront of your mind when you're in that struggle, when you're in that adversity, when you're in, you know, when you're feeling that pain of growth, right? That's what we have to always remember, is that there's a reason, and you may not understand the reason right now, and it may not be there next week or next month or next year, but at some point, because you went through this, you're going to be able to go through that, right? And so, you know, when we talk about adversity, we could go on and on and on, but those are really the three things that I wanted to share, you know, with the audience, as far as why is adversity good, right? 3 things that everybody hears adversity and they think it's just, they demonize it like it's this horrible thing. And then you got those psychos out there like David Goggins, that they constantly seeking adversity. And that's something that I try to do. And even in my fitness, like I realized this last time I did the stair climb, I realized like I got comfortable, right? I got comfortable with lifting and doing the movements that I like to do. I hate cardio. So I had done cardio maybe like once a month, and I paid the price.
Yep.
Like I was not able to complete in the manner that I wanted to complete that stair climb. And, you know, I did it, but it wasn't, there was a
You don't like the way you felt.
not at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah.
Not
No,
at
I
all.
know. I know.
And it sucks because I'm like, man, here you are. This guy has his podcast, always talking all this crap and putting himself out there. But, you know, I think that's another reason why I do what I do and why I say what I say, because I have no problem with somebody calling me on my stuff. You know, if they see me slacking, like, hey, let me know.
Yeah.
You know, let me know, because I do. We all need those people around us to hold us accountable.
Yeah.
You know, we don't want to just surround ourselves with cheerleaders.
Well, and you don't want
Right.
to be in denial either. Like with the fighting thing too, we always say, like, everyone thinks that
Oh yeah,
they can just hold their own.
mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
It's not. That's not the case.
not the
Like
case.
until you had somebody grab you, and you've been fighting for over a minute,
Yeah.
and you realize, holy crap, this does not feel good. And even in jiu-jitsu, like I have to constantly put myself in those positions, because at the level I'm at, there's not too many guys that are able to really, you know,
Make you feel uncomfortable.
yeah. And so I have to seek out that,
Yeah.
right? Whether it's going with multiple partners in a round, whether it's just taking on nothing but the monsters on a day and saying, hey, I'm just going to go in there and, you know, try to kill myself today.
Yeah.
But, you know, on the physical side of things, it was like, yeah, I need to push. I need to find something. And so I have been, right? I went back to the cardio. We're doing cardio at least once a week, sometimes twice, setting up the circuits. The other day we did a gear workout, you know, and it was miserable, and it was nothing crazy. It was it was carrying some 5-inch hose. It was pulling some 5-inch hose, burpees, push-ups, air squats, a little bit on the bike, and then a drag. And, you know, and it was just don't stop.
Yeah.
Like keep going for, I think we did 35 minutes. And man, I tell you what, like I wanted to quit.
Yeah.
You know, I wanted to quit, but I had those
That means
guys
you were
working
doing it
with
right.
me.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, right? Like push yourself, right? Push yourself to where you take yourself to that dark spot. Yeah. Push yourself to where you hear that voice start to come up, and then crush it. Tell it to shut up and just keep pushing forward, right? Because life is not fun all the time. Life is not about feeling good all the time. Sometimes life is just about waking up the next day and making it through that day. And it's so unfortunate when you see so many young people, when you see so many people out there, period, that succumb to their feelings in the moment, when if they would have just pushed through that adversity, it would have made them stronger and made their lives better. But they don't. And unfortunately, the effect of that, you know, is it doesn't just affect them. A lot of the times it affects people around them. Right?
Sure.
And I'm not just talking about, you know, suicide. I'm talking about people that just give up on life and are literally going through the motions, and it's just like they're a shell of what they could be, you know, and it's sad. It's sad. So, you know, I just wanted to talk about that today. I think there's, like I said, I know we talked about the fire service and we talked about the military and everything, but in reality, no matter what you're doing in life, no matter where you're at in life, how old, how young, you're going to face adversity, whether it's sickness, whether it's the loss of a job, whether it's a relationship that goes sour, things don't happen the way you expected it to. You just got to keep fighting. That's really what it boils down to. And the hard part about that is finding those little glimmers of hope in those moments. But if you can do that, it will really allow you to change the way you think, change the way you live. And when you change, people around you change. And when you start to see the impact that not only you're having on your life, but that you're having on others, it makes you realize what this life is all about, right? And that's to serve. We're here, number one, to serve God. But number two, we're here to serve each other. And so I'm thankful for God giving me that revelation and just allowing me to continue to strive, to push so that I can be better for everybody else. But T, you got anything else, man?
No, I think that's good to close it out. I think what you said about if you are having adversity in your life, we all do, but when you're going through those moments, you said, take it day by day. And I would just add to that sometimes it's going to be hour by hour, minute by minute. You just keep moving.
That's right. All right, guys, much love. Stay blessed. Till next time, don't forget, charge that line.